inflation, monetary inflation, unprecedented in the industrial age. Between 91 and 2009, the money supply increased fourfold. It tripled between 97 and 2010, from £700 billion to £2.2 trillion, accelerating into the crisis. Now, you just cannot increase the money supply at this rate without profound consequences. They are the consequences which are with us today. But it goes back further than this. Commons Library and the Office for National Statistics produced a paper giving consumer price inflation back to 1750. What we see is a flat line until about the 20th century, when we had some inflation over the wars, but then from 1971 the value of money collapsed. What had happened? The Bretton Woods Agreement had come to an end, the last link to gold had been severed, and that removed one of the most effective restraints on credit expansion. Perhaps in another debate we might consider why. I will on that.
Would the Honourable Gentleman also agree that getting off the gold standard actually, and the increased supply of money actually enabled business and enabled enterprise, enabled actually the economy to grow, because rather than being tied to the supply of gold, there were other avenues that could be used to grow the economy?
Well, he raises a very important point and preempts some of my later questions. There's no doubt whatever that the period of our lives has been a time of enormous economic, social and political transformation, but so too was the 19th century. And yet during the 19th century there was a secular decline in prices overall. And the truth is, any reasonable amount of money is adequate if prices are allowed to adjust. We all are aware of the phenomenon that computers, cars, more or less anything whose production isn't determined by the state, all of those things, their prices become gently lower as productivity increases. This is a rise in real living standards. We want prices to become lower in real terms compared to wages. That's why we argue about living standards. So this is a will on that.
My old friend is making an incredibly important speech. I only wish more people were here to listen to it. Does he recognise or does he remember, or has he read the book by Nicholas Wapshott on Hayek and Keynes, which goes into this question very carefully? And does he agree that we're now in a new situation in which the unpleasantness of the Weimar Republic and the inflationary increase at that time led to the troubles with Germany later on, but that we're now in a new cycle which also needs to be addressed along the lines that he's just been putting forward?
I'm very grateful to him, Mr. Speaker, because I think he does emphasise that the subject at issue today is one which goes to the heart of the survival of a free civilization. It was something which Hayek wrote about, and I think it's absolutely true. If I were allowed props in the chamber, Mr. Speaker, I might wave this $100 trillion Zimbabwe note, and you can hold bad politics in your hand. That is the truth of the matter. And people try to explain that. People try to explain that hyperinflations never happen just through technocratic error. They happen in the context of, for example, extremely high debt levels and politicians being unable to constrain them. Well, in what circumstances do we find ourselves today, where we're still borrowing broadly triple what Labour was borrowing? I will give way.
I'm very interested to hear what the Honourable Gentleman had to say, but he will be aware that over the last 30 years that the balance between wages on the one hand and capital on the other has become much more in favour of capital. So would you not agree that the way in which we tax and provide reliefs to capital is key to actually controlling that balance, and actually we need to do more about increasing wage levels, which actually have been historically going down the way in relation to capital over a long period of time?
Well, I think I hear the echoes of a particularly fashionable economist at the moment there. I mean, if what she's saying is she would like rising wage levels, real wage levels, well, of course I agree. Who wouldn't? I want rising real wage levels. But something about which I get incredibly frustrated is this word capital. I've heard economists